storm is a natural wonder.
Oh, I hope she's in her basement.
It's also a natural enemy. Some people tackle the violence head-on, others are caught in the crossfire. What follows is a unique view of nature's fury through the lens of the home video, with incredible stories of people who've looked into the eye of the storm. It's thanks to the age of home video that it's really only over the last few years that we've been able to capture extraordinary moments like that on tape, up close and personal. Tonight we're going to show you stuff which I promise you will knock your socks off. And it's all been captured by ordinary people using one of those, a camcorder. Now we're here deep in the heart of Texas in a place they call Tornado Alley, and not without good reason. I know that back home in the UK we get the odd couple of twisters, but here the weather is on a completely different scale. Hailstones the size of oranges dropping out of the sky on you, massive electrical storms that can go on for hours, hurricanes, and of course tornadoes, big ones.
All of the Pampa area should be taking cover at this time. It's moving northward.
The broadcast made it sound like an alien space invasion, but as you'll see from these next clips, the attack on the town of Pampa in Texas was no fantasy.
Folks, this is a very powerful tornado.
On the other side of town, the sheriff heard the broadcast. He'd been expecting a monster storm all day. He'd even gone home to get his camcorder, just in case. Little did he realize the impact of what he was about to film.
Okay, it is on Price Road. I'm here at Kearney. It is on Price Road on the ground.
I reached over into the seat and I picked up my camcorder and I set it up on the dash and turned it on, and I held it with one hand. I was driving with the other hand. I could see at this time the tornado was hanging down from the clouds and was dropping, rather fast, and it was huge.
The sheriff's seen tornadoes like this before, but not this close. His friends and family were in the path of this thing. Just 60 seconds would literally turn their lives upside down.
I heard the siren and come up out of the cellar. Been in there working about 4 hours, and I made a statement, they blow that siren every time we get a big whirlwind, and I was fussing about it. And when I came out about a mile from here to the south was Grandpappy, a huge single vortex tornado.
More than 1,000 twisters bowl down Tornado Alley each year. Most live and die unseen in the vast open prairies. Few tornadoes come to town like this. Even fewer are captured in such terrifying detail on home video.
Okay, I'm on 60. I'm going to try to shut off everything coming in.
All I could see was the tornado was not moving. And we've always been told if you see a tornado and it's not moving, it's either going away from you or coming to you.
I went in the cellar as soon as I seen it was going to hit, or beyond a reasonable doubt that it was going to hit. I held the door slightly ajar and watched that as long as I could hold it. When this thing started moving over, the door flew open. All the air rushed out of the cellar. My dog was in there with me. She went up the bottom of the steps, and the great vacuum and wind sucked her out of it. And had I not been in the corner, on my knees, as everybody should be at a time like this, speaking to my maker, I would have been just as gone as my dog was.
The sheriff got out of his car, his camcorder still trained on the hungry vortex that now seemed to be feeding on his town and spitting it out.
I actually watched one particle of debris, and I have no idea what it was other than it's a large object, circle the tornado twice before it was thrown out.
What Randy Stubblefield had spotted were in fact cars, 6 of them. By now, the tornado was twisting at 250 miles an hour, and the cars, we've highlighted 2 of them, were being tossed around like leaves in a breeze. Incredibly, no one had been in them at the time.
I went to thinking that if this was an armed robber coming into Pampa, I could station my deputies out there on the highway and we could set up a roadblock and we could stop it. We could stop any danger from coming into the city of Pampa, but not with a tornado.
Be careful, you're almost there.
Helpless in the face of nature's power, all Randy could do was shoot the tornado with his camera. He watched and filmed as it methodically ripped the heart out of homes and factories in its path. After 20 minutes, the tornado swerved right across a main road and out of the danger zone. Miraculously, no one had been seriously injured, and the tornado left Pampa as swiftly as it had come. The Americans spend a lot of dollars on these storm shelters. Wherever you live, there's usually one close by, upended and buried deep into the ground. It's about as safe as it gets. But what if the weather turns so quickly that you're trapped in the home? Well, then you go to what Texans around here call the Frady hole. It's a makeshift shelter. It could be under the kitchen table, it could be under the stairs, and there you hold on to each other very tight and you pray very hard. Capable of tugging 50-foot trees out of the ground like matchsticks, tornadoes reveal nature's most brutal face. Our homes may be our castles, but not when they're lying in the path of a twister.
God, you can hear it coming! Major footage!
These scenes are extraordinary, as much for the fact that everyone has grabbed their camera rather than taking cover.
Everything's flying away. Here comes the wind.
Coming up, some incredible footage shot by people seconds away from a direct hit.
Everybody get under stuff!
There went the barn. Look at that. Oh my God. What? You're kidding. Look at that. Put it up now. Really? Oh, I hope she's in her basement.
Get away from the windows! Oh! Get away from the windows! Tree just blew over. Wow, look at that tree over there. Look at that. Get away from the windows! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Get away! Where's everybody? Where's everybody?
See what you look like.
We're in Oklahoma, and the Ring family are enjoying a walk in the sunshine with the new baby, Cody. Scenes like this are the same the world over. But what Debbie Ring filmed the next time the camera came out of its case was extraordinary.
Oh my God. Where now? I lost it.
The twister was more than 5 miles away when Debbie first saw it, far enough, you'd have thought, to pose no threat.
I asked my daughter to get the video camera because I just didn't want to miss the tornado, and I felt terrified because this one was just huge and very black. And I was worried that my children would get hurt and that I would get hurt and not be able to see my babies grow up, and just, it's the most afraid that I have ever been in my life. Just stay over there, honey. You're not welcome at my house.
She was beginning to realize the tornado was indeed coming her way.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to go in the house in a minute. I knew it was gonna do this.
By this time, the tornado was a mile high and would grow to be half a mile wide on the ground. And it wasn't traveling left or right, it was coming straight at her.
Oh my God. Where is it? Which way is it going? Oh, it's gonna come over here. I hate Oklahoma. Heather, I'm coming, I'm coming. My daughter was hollering at me to come downstairs too, and I said, I'll just be up here for a little bit. I've got to get this. And then the tornado was coming closer. I'm on my way, just hang on. Stay down there with the baby.
Debbie's time was running out. The wind was dragging the camera from her shoulder and trees were being uprooted. It was time to stop filming.
Stay down there, Heather. You're Everybody asked, it didn't do much to your house, and you say no, but it sure got everything around us. Well, I guess God was watching out for us.
Starting at 8 o'clock at night on Sunday, 23rd of August.
Miami, mid-August 1992, and the Goldenberg family planned to watch Hurricane Andrew go by on their TV. Stan Goldenberg had borrowed a camcorder from his mother-in-law, planning a video diary of the night's events.
Ruben, we have Anne.
What shakes me the most is seeing the early part of the video where everybody's just kind of clowning around and saying hi, and we had a certain sense of security in the house. See, some people came over and helped us board up all the windows, and I thought I would never get a chance to do that, and I remember sitting down and saying, oh, it's nice to be protected.
Well, this is the storm, and we're watching it, as you can see, headed right towards us. This is Stan Goldenberg, hurricane meteorologist, reporting on Hurricane Andrew.
Hardly anybody in the United States had experienced anything as strong as Andrew or even close to it. So most people didn't even know what they were in for. If they knew what they were in for, they would have got out.
Even the experts can't predict exactly where the eye of a hurricane will hit. The winds are borne thousands of miles out to sea, and a tiny change of course can mean that they miss land completely. Inside, the Goldenbergs watched and waited. Stan continued to play at home movies, killing time with a guided tour of the house.
Look around the house here. We have the bathroom.
In the light of events to come, these pictures have an added significance. This was the last time Stan would ever see his home in one piece.
Boys' room.
Definitely the eye of the storm is further south than you first anticipated it would be.
Yes, it's coming inland over South Dade County and the Homestead.
Oh, goodness. We haven't got the worst part yet.
We're talking especially.
Winds outside, I think, are at least 100, 110 miles an hour or more. Aaron, are
With
you
the
okay?
power down, Stan continued to film by torchlight. The eye of the storm and its most violent winds were yet to come. Huddled in the hallway and kitchen, the family could hear the winds picking their home to bits.
Plywood on the front window, but we are praying God will cover that. We can feel our ears constantly pop. Lord, we just thank you. We ask for your protection in Jesus' name.
The wind that night did its best to finish off Stan's house. The roof disappeared, the windows exploded, and the walls collapsed on top of the family. But they survived. 3 adults, 6 children, and a kitten in this tiny space.
But anyway, that's where we were, underneath that, thanking God that we were all safe. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Just have a look at this. This is a hailstone, about as big as they get in Britain. Make a dent in your car. How about this? This is an all-American hailstone, and this is only regular size. Can you imagine hailstones as big as this? We're all used to seeing hail, but not like this. Day turns to night, and leaves are stripped from trees. And have you ever seen lightning like this? There are 8 million lightning strikes a day worldwide. Relatively few of them hit the ground. Most of them stay inside the clouds.
That blinded me. What? I'm going to scare the neighbor down here. Oh, man.
I don't know if you saw that Hollywood disaster movie, Twister. There's a scene in it where there's a pickup truck going down a road and a monster tornado coming up behind. Well, that happens in real life. And if you've got a tornado on your tail, there's only one place to go. Undercover. Sometimes even weathermen get caught. TV forecaster Dave Dahl from Minneapolis has been broadcasting tornado warnings for years. But last year, he was forced to take his own advice, and he managed to keep filming at the same time.
This thing is going to do big damage. Let's go down to that ditch, but still, keep an eye on it. Get down, guys. Everybody get down. Get down. Don't look. Lay as flat as possible. Don't let any air get underneath you. Here it comes. We're in trouble, folks. Hang on, you guys. My God.
This tornado passed within 100 feet of Dave and the others. It upended a car, but didn't hurt anyone.
Okay, it's passing by us just barely. Yeah, it's past us. It's past us. We're fine. Okay. Yes, we're fine. Yes, we've been doing this for a long time. Been doing this for 19 years, watching this stuff. Have you ever been this close? Never been this close.
the calm before the storm. Even when a hurricane's steaming in towards them, a lot of people find it really difficult to believe that it's actually going to happen. But then the winds start to pick up and they listen to the weathermen and they get out of town fast. But a tiny minority are driving the other way, straight into trouble. Men like Richard Horodner, a weather nut, hooked on high winds and the high risks they bring. It's an addiction that takes him to the edge of danger and sometimes beyond.
There is a method to the madness. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've yet to be injured. I guess if I get killed, you can tell me I told you so.
This footage shows just how far Richard is prepared to go to get the shots he wants.
I drove across a causeway bridge that, when you see the pictures, will tell you I had to have been absolutely nuts because the left side of the highway had fallen into the water. Was the foundation there to hold my car up on the right side? I thought it was, so I drove over the bridge and took the pictures of this happening. When I look back at that, I think I was nuts.
The energy released by a hurricane in a single day could supply Britain with enough power for 3 years. The first sign a hurricane's approaching is a huge wave, a storm surge, pushing ahead of the strongest winds. It's probably the most difficult shot to get, not least because the camera gets soaked. It's also the one the chasers go for. This was Hurricane Gilbert, getting the better of Richard.
That's what you call storm surge.
First the storm surge, then the flood. It only takes minutes for the sea to swamp this jetty in a Florida marina and drag the boats from their moorings. Just look at that one on the left. That's somebody's pride and joy. And this one, blown sideways out to sea. Remember that most people have been evacuated ahead of a hurricane. The only ones left behind are the chasers. They must find shelter during the storm, but of course, it has to be near the action for the grandstand view. In the end, even your shelter may not stand up to the storm. This is Richard in Hurricane Hugo.
The wind and rain just picked up tremendously, gusting 130, 40 miles an hour, and we had to get out of the 4th-story apartment as the windows were breaking, and the part of the condo was coming apart upstairs. We headed down the stairwell in pitch black, although the generator lights were going on and off and on and off. As we went down the stairwell, the rain was being pushed so hard into the condo that the water was being forced up the stairwell. The danger of the wind, if we had stepped out away from the pillar that was blocking the wind, was winds of 150 or 60 miles an hour. The danger is very close. To catch and film a storm is a game of brinkmanship, but never step over that edge because the water can come get you, the lion can grab you. If I were to accidentally step over that edge and get hurt, my whole view of what I do might change, but to get the best photos, you have to be right at the edge of the action.
We are extremely lucky.
The whole point of being a storm chaser is obviously to get as close to the action as possible, but not that close. The trouble is these things are more or less completely unpredictable, and even the most experienced storm chasers can suddenly find themselves in very deep trouble.
This looks like a boss storm. Prettiest storms I've seen.
If you're a storm freak, clouds like this turn you on. But life's not so sweet when the storm you're chasing chases you.
I was right next to the very early stage of a developing severe thunderstorm that would produce many tornadoes. And I was looking at low-level clouds condensing out of clear air and climbing rapidly into this darkening tower. It was like looking up into a giant ocean wave. It was just beautiful.
Dozens of weather buffs often arrive at the same storm, jockeying for position to get the best video shots.
Chuck Doswell.
Chasers, chasers. We're gonna get closer. Explosive updrafts. This is what video is for. I lingered for a few moments trying to take some video until I saw the rain curtains underneath start to rotate as it got much closer. And then a sudden gust of wind hit the car, and I spun my tires and I got out of there real fast.
Whoops, here comes the rain. I better head south.
Bad decision, Dave. You should have stayed with the other chasers.
We're looking at rapidly moving circulation here. It's moving to the northeast, getting some moderate hail. Had to stop here for my own safety.
David's in trouble. If he had stayed with the others, he'd now be filming this view of a mature tornado. Instead, he's on the inside, trying to see out.
I was really concerned, because I knew that something was coming toward me that was drawing those winds in. Light hail was starting to fall, and what I was looking at that moment was a solid wall of wind and rain coming right at me.
But rain is blocking me and hail, and I can't see it, but it's extremely strong upper winds there. It must be moving at 60, 70 easily.
Blinded and in a virtual whiteout, David Hoadley knows he's taken a wrong turn.
Very strong circulation there.
The decision to move probably saved his life. Around 100 people a year aren't so lucky. On the other side of the tornado, his fellow chasers are beside themselves.
We got it made, Chuck! The chase is made! Fantastic!
Later, David went back to where he'd stopped in the path of the tornado. Utility poles had been snapped in two, and a barn destroyed. It's enough to make anyone think twice about their hobby, but not David.
I guess a question might fairly be asked, is this something that would cure me of chasing? No. I'll be back.
Hang on, I'm going to the west downtown. I'm going west of downtown here, 1 block.
While some chase for pleasure, others do it for a job. Jeff Petrovsky tracks storms across the Midwest for his local radio and TV stations. He too can push his luck.
Talk to me, Dingle. There it is.
Right there,
oh my
right
God.
There.
4 blocks west of downtown.
Stop.
Yes. Right now. Oh, come on, get in the car. Daniel, get in the car. Move.
Now, after what Dave's been through, you might think that Jeff overreacted to a twister that had to be at least a mile away. But look again. What he'd seen at the last second was another funnel, much closer and far more dangerous.
There's damage everywhere. Give me the number, direct number I need you on the air right now. Give me that folder right now. Give me that folder. Let me talk to Gary. I've got a guy running up to my vehicle right now, filming. Hang on. We got help coming on the way.
Jeff was okay, and footage like his shows how lucky you are when you pass through the eye of the storm and live to tell the tale. We're not even close to beginning to know how to tame the kind of raw power that we've seen tonight, and we probably never will. But we can at least capture it, and what it can do on one of these. And I defy anybody watching over the last half hour to ever again complain about the state of the British weather. But we're not going to leave Mother Nature on a black note. Here she is in a rather gentler, more playful mood. Good night.
Maggie and an old school friend wreak havoc around the rooms and corridors of the Grand. Next.